Welcome, dear learners. Today we will learn the most important feature of C language, that is function. A function is a block of statements that performs a specific task. Sometimes we want to perform a specific task again and again in a program. If so, we have two options. Either we can write the same set of statements every time we want to perform the task, or we can create a function to perform the task and call it every time you need to perform the task. By writing function instead of repeating a statement again and again, we have so many advantages. By using function, we can avoid rewriting the same code again and again in a program. And we can call that function any number of times that we want. So this is called reusability. And we have one more advantage in writing the function. Suppose if we have a large complex program, then it is very difficult to write the statements in a single program. So instead, we can divide the program into smaller tasks, and each task can be defined as a function. This is called modularity. We can track a large C program easily when it is divided into multiple functions. That is, if the program is very large, it is easy to understand the program if there are functions for each module. And this function consists of three aspects. One thing is, if you want to use a function in a C program, then first thing is you want to declare the function, then you have to define the function, then you have to call the function. So function declaration is a function must be declared globally, that is outside any function in a C program. It tells the compiler about the function name, function parameter, and return type. That is, function declaration is used to indicate the compiler the name of the function, function parameter, and the return type. And function definition, it contains the actual statements which are to be executed in order to carry out a specific task. And this functions always return a single value. From one function, we can return only one value. And next thing is, if we want to use that function, we have to call it from anywhere in the program. So a function must be called anywhere in the program, and the calling statement should include parameter list, and it should not be different from the parameter list that we declare in the declaration statement. That is, the declaration statement also we have parameters. The number of parameters and the order and the type should match in the calling statement also. We'll see one by one. So this is syntax of function declaration, definition, calling statement. So the declaration, you have three parts: return type, name of the function, argument list. And this return type represents data type of the data returned by the function, and this function name. And this argument represents the name of the variables which the function accepts as input. Then function definition, this is a return data type, function name. So along with the declaration, similar to declaration, we have to define the functionality of the function, what we want to do. So that is called as function of the body. Then we have calling statement, function name followed by argument list. Then we see one by one function declaration. Like any variable or an array, a function must also be declared before it is used. A function declaration informs the compiler about the function name, parameters, and the return data type. It is also called as function prototype, and it consists of four parts. They are return type, function name, parameter list, and the termination, that is semicolon at the end. Okay, this is syntax of a function declaration. Then function return type. Okay, return type specifies the type of value that the function is expected to return to the calling statement. Suppose if the function does not return any value, then the return type should be specified as void. Then you have the name of the function. It is an identifier. And next is parameter list. The parameter list declares the type and the number of arguments that the function expects when it is called. And the parameters are called as formal parameters. Next, function definition. So this is the syntax of function definition. You have the function header or the first line, which is similar to declaration except the semicolon. So it indicates the return data type, name of the function, and the arguments. Then you have the function body. This function body is similar to a simple program. Okay, if you want, you can have some variable declaration within this function body. And this variable which are declared here are called as local variables. Then we have statements to perform the task. Then at last, the function includes a return statement. The syntax of a return statement is a return followed by variable name whose values to be returned to the calling statement. Then if you want to use that function, you have to call it. Call the function from any other function. So you have two types of calling statements. A function may or may not return any value. Suppose if the function returns a value, then you have to call the function in an assignment statement. Okay, variable name equal to function name followed by parameters, then end with semicolon. So the value returned by the function will be stored in the variable given here, the left hand side. Suppose if the function does not return any value, then we have to call the function by indicating the function name followed by parameters alone, because it's not going to return any value. So we should not call this type of function in an assignment statement. If it returns a value, you can call that function in an assignment statement. So the value returned by the function will be stored in the variable given. Okay, it's a simple program where in which we defined a function to find the smallest of two numbers. Okay, and this line represents the function declaration, where int represents data type of the value returned by the function, and small is the name of the function, and this int x and int y represent the parameters. So this function named small will accept two values as input, x and y, and find the smallest of these two and return that smallest value. Since the x and y are integer type, the return data is also of type integer, because we are going to find the smallest of x and y, and we are going to return either x or y. Since that is integer type, the return data type is also integer. So within the function, a variable is declared sm, that is the small local variable sm, and the variable in the parameter list are m and m. So we are going to compare the m and m value, and whichever is less, that is stored in sm, assigned to sm, and the return value sm will be returned. Okay, so this is the function. Now we see the main program. Okay, in the main program, we declared three variables a, b, and s, and we are going to find the smallest of a and b. So we are giving value to a and b through the scanf statement, and I am going to call the function. So this function will return the smallest of a and b, and that return value will be stored in the variable s. So I am calling the statement in an assignment s is equal to small of a comma b. So whenever it looks for the function name, it calls the function. While calling the function, the value of a will be passed to m, and value of b will be passed to n. Okay, and so m and n will be compared. A smallest number will be stored in the variable local variable sm, and it returned the variable sm, and the returned value will be stored in the variable s. So here we are two printf statements are used. One to print the given values a and b. Other one is to print the smallest of a and b. Okay. So this function is used to find the smallest of two numbers. Okay. So this is an example program function which returns a value. Sometimes the function may not return a value. In that case, this is another example. The same program, we are writing it without return any value. So since it's not going to return any value, it is given as void. Okay, void small int x into y, and we are going to find the smallest of two numbers, and the smallest value will be printed out in the function itself. And since it is not going to return any value, we are going to call the function simply by function name followed by parameters. We cannot use it in a call it in a assignment statement because it is not going to return any value. So in that case, you got to write a small a comma b, and it go to the function value of a will be copied to m and value of b will be copied to n, and it finds the smallest of the two numbers, and the smallest value will be stored in sm, and the value smallest number will be printed out in the function itself. Am I right? So this is the way we are calling the function which does not return any value. If it returns a value, then we have to call it in an assignment statement like this. If it is not going to return any value, then we have to call the function simply by mentioning the function name followed by the arguments. Okay, thank you, and we will see a small program in the next class. We will use this and we will see a small program in the next class. Okay, so function as a small program which carry out a specific task. Suppose and this function can be used any number of times. We can call it any number of times. We all know that the formula to calculate the binomial coefficient is NCR equal to n factorial divided by r factorial into n minus r factorial. In that situation, we got to calculate the factorial 3 times. So instead of writing the statement again and again, we can write a function for factorial and call it 3 times. So that is called as a reusability of the function. So the main advantage of function is reusability. It avoids rewriting the codes. And third point is, if the problem is very big, you can divide that into smaller modules, and each module can be defined as a function. So the advantage of using function is reusability, modularity, and it avoids rewriting the statements again and again. That is, it used to avoid repetitive statements. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for listening. Thank you, all.